Your dog can read your face. It can tell when you are sad before you say anything. It remembers which humans have been kind to it and which ones have not. Most people think that kind of intelligence came from thousands of years of living with humans, that we taught dogs to think that way. But the fossil record tells a different story. Long before humans and dogs ever met, prehistoric canids were already developing social brains, coordinated strategies, and pack communication systems that scientists are still mapping today. Some of them were doing it on completely separate continents at the same time, with no connection to each other. This is the story of 17 extinct dogs. Every one of them was smarter than you expect, and every one of them had one blind spot that time eventually found. Before we get to the list, here is something you need to understand. About 40 million years ago, the first true canid appeared in North America. It was called Hesperocyon. It was small, about the size of a house cat. It did not look like a wolf or a dog. It looked more like a long-bodied weasel with slightly longer legs. Nobody watching it move through the forests of what is now South Dakota would have guessed that this small, unremarkable animal was the starting point for every wolf, fox, dog, coyote, and jackal alive on Earth today. What Hesperocyon had that mattered was not size. It was not speed. It was a slightly larger brain relative to its body than most of the other small mammals around it. That proportion was the seed. Everything on this list grew from it. Hesperocyon itself makes the list because it started something. Its brain was small by any modern standard, but its inner ear structure, which controls balance and spatial awareness, was more developed than its competitors. That meant it could track movement in 3 dimensions more accurately. It could follow prey through uneven terrain without losing it. Small advantage, enormous consequences over millions of years. Blind spot. It was too small and too slow to handle the larger predators sharing its environment. Intelligence without physical backup only goes so far at 30 million BC. Number 16. Leptocyon. About 24 million years ago, a descendant of Hesperocyon called Leptocyon appeared. It was still small and still fox-like in shape, but its skull shows something interesting. The olfactory region, the part of the brain dedicated to processing smells, had expanded significantly. Smell-based intelligence is not something humans value because we are so vision-dependent. But for a small predator, navigating a world of much larger threats, the ability to build a detailed mental map of an environment from scent alone is a form of spatial intelligence that is genuinely sophisticated. Leptocyon could essentially read a landscape without seeing it. Blind spot. Still solitary, no pack coordination. When the environment changed and prey got faster, a single smart animal was not enough. Number 15. Tomactus. Around 10 million years ago, Tomactus appeared and something genuinely new happened. Its fossils show evidence of a more developed frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain most associated with decision-making, social behavior, and impulse control. Tomactus was not just reacting to its environment, it was starting to evaluate it. Scientists believe it was one of the first canids to show early evidence of cooperative behavior, meaning it may have been coordinating with others of its species rather than simply tolerating them. Blind spot. The cooperation was early and likely limited. When food became scarce, the social bonds probably broke down. Cooperation without deep social memory is fragile. Number 14. Epicyon. Now we get to something that will surprise you. Epicyon was not built like any dog you would recognize. It was massive. Some specimens were as large as a modern lion. It had a skull so deep and wide that scientists initially misclassified it as a large cat. Its bite force was extraordinary, close to that of a hyena. For a long time, researchers assumed it was just a brute. A big body with a big jaw and not much else. Then they looked at the brain cavity more carefully. Epicyon had a larger cerebellum than expected for its size. The cerebellum controls coordination and precise movement. In a predator the size of a lion, a highly developed cerebellum means it was not just charging and biting, it was making fine physical adjustments mid-movement, tracking, correcting, anticipating. It was physically intelligent in the way that great athletes are physically intelligent. The body was the brain. Blind spot, too large to sustain itself when megafauna populations declined. Its intelligence was physical, not adaptive. When the prey changed, it could not. Number 13, Elurodon. Elurodon lived alongside Epicyon and was significantly smaller. What made it remarkable was its teeth. Not the size of them, but the variety. It had a more complex tooth structure than most of its contemporaries, suggesting a more varied diet. Dietary flexibility requires cognitive flexibility. An animal that eats many different things has to make more decisions than an animal that eats one thing. Elurodon's brain appears to have tracked with that complexity. It was one of the most generalist thinkers in its era. Blind spot. Generalism only works in stable, mixed environments. When the forests of North America dried into grasslands, generalist strategies struggled against specialists who had committed fully to the new conditions. Number 12, Eukion. This one matters more than almost any other on the list. Eukion was a mid-sized canid that lived around 8 million years ago, and it was not the biggest or strongest or fastest animal of its time. What it was socially flexible. Fossil evidence and brain structure analysis suggest Eukion was capable of adjusting its social groupings based on conditions. When prey was large, it hunted cooperatively. When prey was small, it split into pairs or hunted alone. It could scale its social behavior up and down based on need. That adaptability is why Eukion is the ancestor of almost every wolf, dog, coyote, and jackal alive today. Everything else got outcompeted or trapped in a single strategy. Eukion survived because it could switch. Your dog exists because of this one cognitive trait in one mid-sized canid 8 million years ago. Blind spot. Eukion itself eventually specialized and its direct line disappeared, but not before its descendants spread across 3 continents and became everything. Numbers 11 through 6, the spread. As Eukion's descendants moved into Europe and Asia, they diversified rapidly. Each new environment shaped a slightly different cognitive profile. Canis arnensis in Europe developed one of the earliest documented evidence of den-sharing behavior between unrelated individuals, a sign of social trust beyond immediate family. Canis etruscus showed skull proportions suggesting improved short-term memory capacity. Canis mosbacensis, an ancestor of the modern grey wolf, had a brain-to-body ratio that rivals the modern wolf almost exactly, suggesting its cognitive ceiling was reached early and held stable across hundreds of thousands of years. Armbruster's wolf in North America developed longer legs and a slightly smaller brain than its ancestors, trading cognitive overhead for physical endurance. Smart enough, fast enough, built for a specific job. Canis dirus, the dire wolf, we have already covered, the most committed specialist in canid history. Canis lipophagus, a small coyote-like canid, showed early evidence of problem-solving flexibility that would eventually define the modern coyote, one of the most cognitively adaptable animals alive today. Each of these animals was building something. Each one pushed the brain slightly further in a slightly different direction. Number 5, the Falkland Islands wolf. It lived on islands, with no land predators and no natural fear of humans. When European sailors arrived, it walked directly up to them. Scientists once called this stupidity. It was not. It was the output of a brain that had never needed to model human threat because humans had never existed in its environment. It was not naive. It was perfectly calibrated for a world that suddenly changed overnight. Extinct by 1876. The fastest extinction of any canid in recorded history. Number 4. Speothos pacivorus, the ancestor of the bush dog. Fossil evidence suggests this animal hunted prey significantly larger than itself through coordinated ambush strategy. Small brain, massive social coordination. It solved the problem of size through timing and positioning rather than individual strength. The modern bush dog still does this today and remains one of the least understood predators in South America. Number 3. Xenocyon, a large hypercarnivore that spread from Africa into Europe and Asia around 1 million years ago. Its skull shows one of the largest brain cavities, relative to body size, of any canid in the fossil record before modern wolves. It likely hunted in coordinated packs, using strategies that researchers believe were more complex than most modern pack hunters. It disappeared when it encountered competition from early human hunters who used the same prey base and the same landscape in the same way. Number 2. Atelocynus microtis, the short-eared dog. Still alive today, but barely. Isolated in the Amazon, almost nothing is known about it because it avoids humans completely. What little behavioral data exists suggests an extremely sophisticated, solitary intelligence. It maps enormous territories. It solves novel problems without apparent trial and error. It may represent the most cognitively advanced solitary canid ever documented. It is currently endangered and largely unstudied. Number 1. The domestic dog. The most intelligent canid in history is not extinct. It is lying on your couch. The domestic dog developed the ability to read human facial expressions, follow human pointing gestures, and model human emotional states. No other animal on Earth does all three. Wolves cannot do it. Chimpanzees cannot do it reliably. The domestic dog evolved this specific social intelligence in direct response to humans. It did not happen slowly. Genetic evidence suggests it happened fast. A cognitive leap driven by the most powerful selective pressure any canid ever encountered. Us. Every animal on this list was building towards something. The domestic dog found a shortcut. It stopped trying to survive the world and started trying to understand the one species that was reshaping it. That is either the smartest thing any canid ever did, or the most dependent. Probably both. If animal intelligence and what evolution actually built is what keeps you watching, our last video will not disappoint. Watch baboons tear a spotted hyena to shreds next. A troop that used coordinated intelligence against one of Africa's most powerful predators and ended the fight in under 4 minutes. The hyena never found a way out.